only thing that I can say is that I am part of discussions on a daily basis with builders across multiple blockchains that are developing tools to empower their communities. And they're finding that they're reaching a point where they're really trying to either reward their community members accordingly based on their contributions or their participation or their reputation, and they can't, because they really can't identify these individuals in a trustless way.
And we are live. Welcome everybody to the first BSCNews Security Summit. This event is going to be filled with a heavyweight lineup of BSC protocols that are looking to promote and further security. For those who are unaware of the heavyweight lineup we have from Binance Smart Chain, it's going to consist of these projects: the Binance Smart Chain community, Immunefi, SafePal, Hacken, PancakeBunny, and OntoWallet. Each speaker has selected a security topic that is a primary focus of their project. The goal of this security summit is to shed light on some of the most important security measures going on and to educate all DeFi users, whether beginner or experienced. Perfect. And we're getting down to the end here. So last but not least, our final guest is another wallet provider. I actually saw someone in chat here. Arthur is eager to hear about Onto. So you got what you wished for. And this protocol provides itself as a decentralized cross-chain wallet, and it allows users to manage their digital identity, including their assets and data. OntoWallet boasts support for over 14 chains, making it a great platform to jump into DeFi. They also have an extremely intuitive mobile app and website that makes a great onboarding for beginner users. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Humpty, the head of community at Ontology. How's it going, Humpty?
Looks like here we go.
There we are. Yep.
So I've used this app before, so hey, hopefully I'm not going to embarrass myself. There we go.
Perfect. There we are. How you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. Thank you. How are you doing?
Not too bad. Getting down to the end here and be able to grab some lunch and then get on with the day. I've had a great time at this summit.
Great. Yeah, no, it's been fun listening to everyone ahead of me, and I'm thankful and grateful for the invitation.
Perfect. Yeah. So you can go ahead and share your screen, and then we can jump into the presentation and then head into some discussion to wrap things up.
All right.
Let me know if you're having any issues.
Can I share a window? Actually, that's a question I didn't ask earlier.
I don't think you can. I think you can only do the screen, which is kind of lame.
Would you mind sharing the presentation then? Because I have a bunch of stuff open. I was just going to share one window.
Let me pull it up. You're going to make me go on the fly here. But
sorry about that.
No worries. I already got it set up. I just need to, yeah. Here we are. Nope, that's the wrong thing.
Video.
Perfect.
Okay. It's a wonderful 5 slides, so it'd be a shame if you missed it.
Let's get this opened up and presenting. There we are.
Excellent. All right, great. So once again, thank you so much, BSCNews, for inviting me here. It's a pleasure. I've had a wonderful time listening to what everyone else has been sharing in terms of what they're working on Binance Smart Chain. So I'm here today representing Onto to talk about Onto. I'm Humpty, head of community at Ontology. And well, just like the title says right there, Onto is a self-sovereign data wallet that allows you to securely manage your own digital identity, data, and assets. So simply speaking, the wallet, it does more than just simply allowing you to hold digital assets, but it actually leverages the power of decentralized identity to enable the user to be able to create one, and then leverage that to create a reputation score, and then using that across the DeFi ecosystem. So, currently DeFi is over collateralized. So what Ontology and through Onto that it seeks to do is to enable users to be able to under collateralize these loans, excuse me. So by leveraging your on-chain behavior, such as being a good borrower, you are able to then earn better rates and rewards versus the traditional way of doing DeFi, which is over collateralizing. So on the second page here, it really kind of breaks down the two elements that make up Onto. And the first, I think, is something that we're familiar with, and that is it's a decentralized cross-chain digital wallet or crypto wallet. And really all of what that means is it allows you to be able to hold those digital assets securely, including NFTs. It allows you to perform these cross-chain swaps. And another feature that goes along with that is it allows users to be able to follow the crypto news through the newsfeed that's built into it, and then use the rich DApp ecosystem.
Yeah,
on the other side.
Sorry, just to jump in, I was going to say BSC News is actually integrated in that news function. So shout out to Ontology for that.
That's right. Actually, so I mean, I don't want to deviate too much, but I think that Onto on Binance Smart Chain has been a wonderful experience, and I say that because I've had the chance to speak to some other builders on Binance Smart Chain, and they've kind of boasted about the ability to use it and kind of the community that comes along with that, right? So head of community, that's really my focus, is to make sure that there's a community of users and a community of developers that are satisfied with that experience. And so I think that the relationship has been synergistic.
Definitely.
So thank you for that too, and that includes BSC News. So going to that other half of what it comprises Onto is decentralized identity. And so that's a term that may not be familiar to many of us, but that's a term that is quickly picking up steam because there's a lot of development happening in that space. And really, that is a way to empower users and allow them to preserve their privacy through their interactions in the blockchain. And so decentralized identity and the way that Onto utilizes it is really the simplest way to create that. You create a wallet and you automatically have a decentralized identity created with you, which then, like I mentioned earlier, you can leverage some of the other tools that have been built by Ontology, such as OScore, to be able to create that decentralized or self-sovereign reputation. And so, Onto being built by Ontology, there's a synergy there already in terms of the technology that is being used on Onto. Ontology is a little bit of background for anybody who may not be familiar, is a project that brings trust into the Web3 ecosystem. And that includes everything from DeFi, DAOs, NFTs, staking, what we are familiar with here at Binance Smart Chain and on Ontology as well. So the slide that we have up now talks a little bit more about Ont ID and really what that is. So Ont ID is Ontology's version of the D.I.D. protocol. And so that is a framework that is built on open standards that uses blockchain and cryptographic technology to connect people, data, and services. And so by using Ont ID within Onto, the user is not only able to securely create that and manage that digital identity, but they're able to also interact with it. And I'll give you some examples and some of the integrations that Ontology is working on now. So with your Ont ID, imagine being able to sign in using that instead of using a centralized protocol such as OAuth from Facebook or from Google, where as you're signing in with your identity, their identity, they're also harvesting that data, all of the information of your interactions within their platform and other platforms. So you don't have control over that information or how that data is accessed or used or monetized. With Ont ID, you now have the ability to control that information, not just control the data, but you also can control the way that that's accessed, how you share it to other platforms, how much of that information you wish to share. And then as Ontology, the long-term vision is also providing the users an ability to be able to not just manage it, but potentially even monetize that data as well. So it really is to give the user full control and power over their identity and their data. So it's kind of taking that own your keys, own your crypto to the next level where it's own your identity, own your data, right? So it really is looking to solve some of the challenges that we're seeing today with centralized data and data monetization that doesn't serve the user. If anything, it's a big risk because then users don't really know how that information is being shared. And like they say, there is an institution that probably knows more about you than you know about yourself, because they're able to harvest that data and really, look at that information in that way. So, as Web3, and we can go to the next slide here.
Perfect. And yeah, this ID concept is just incredible. And it's pretty unique, and it's expansive that Ontology is focusing on this and bringing further use case and like a new meaning to decentralized. Oh, skipped it.
Yeah. So actually, and so I'll touch on the fact that Ontology is, should I say Onto is supported or supports different blockchains and different dApps. It has like over 100 dApps listed and over a dozen blockchains. But one thing that is relevant to this discussion is Binance Smart Chain. Ontology is the sole decentralized identity provider for Binance Smart Chain. And so because of that, it has already begun to enable some of this utility to some of the projects that are built on Binance Smart Chain. One of those is Rocky. They're an NFT platform. And so they've leveraged the power of Ontology's D.I.D protocol to be able to verify their creators so that there is a authenticity to the work that is being published, instead of someone saying, oh, this is my creation, but in reality, they're stealing copyrighted work, and then they're publishing it and monetizing that. So Ontology is proud to be a provider of that technology to Binance Smart Chain, and certainly open to integrating that across the entire ecosystem to bring forward this trust and decentralization that D.I.D promises. So other interesting metrics here, like it shows up there, there's tens of thousands of active users on this platform that use it across multiple blockchains. But for me, the most powerful one, because it's definitely the most unique one, is that it has also helped in taking this number of Ont IDs up to almost 1.5 million or over 1.5 million. So I think that's a meaningful metric there, because it really, for me, shows how easy it is to create one. Does each of these represent an individual? Maybe not. But the fact of the matter is that if it's this simple to create it, a user has that agency to be able to create as many identities as they need to then use in whichever applications they wish to use it. They could have one for strictly for DeFi. They could have one as your most public one, which I personally do. I have one that I like to use, and I would like to have that be my public record down the line, where I could say, look at this address. It has all the interactions that I've done that really show that I am a trustworthy human being on the blockchain, and that I should be rewarded for being that. So that's about all I have in terms of the presentation. I will say that through the rich ecosystem that Ontology has built, and with Onto as well, this is then perfectly positioned to play a pivotal role in that next generation of the web that we are all familiar with and super excited about, I'm sure.
Definitely, yeah. And that presentation was packed with some things, and I just want to take a step back. And for me personally, what a huge use case of Ont ID sounds like, and it might be a little bit far off because it's just such a hard topic to tackle, but it's the idea of under collateralization inside of dApps. What is the goal of this, and how far off do you think this is? Because it's definitely something difficult to do.
So I would say that we are getting closer by the day. Now, I wouldn't put a target to anything, but the only thing that I can say is that I am part of discussions on a daily basis with builders across multiple blockchains that are developing tools to empower their communities. And they're finding that they're reaching a point where they're really trying to either reward their community members accordingly based on their contributions or their participation or their reputation, and they can't, because they really can't identify these individuals in a trustless way. Some of them are looking at, using their Twitter accounts. Others are using, an NFT as a placeholder, but an NFT is transferable. So potentially you could transfer that reputation to someone else. There may be power in that, But in terms of really recognizing individual humans and rewarding them accordingly based on their contributions to the ecosystem to help the growth, the adoption of it, decentralized identity is doing that. And so along with Ontology, there's a few other players in the space that are working on developing this technology. And a lot of them are focused on DeFi because of the fact that, like you said, there's a clear need there to create a more accessible and probably better word, equitable, platform and protocol for everyone, where it isn't just those that have a ton of wealth that can put up twice an asset to be able to take out a loan. It's really based on your long-term behavior on that protocol. If I've been borrowing small amounts over time and I'm consistently repaying those back, I should be entitled to, in the long term, just like in real life, get that credit score to go up so that I could take bigger loans without necessarily having to over collateralize.
Yeah, and I think that's extremely important, and that's where the DeFi space needs to be, and it's where people are building towards. We really want to get towards this idea of under collateralized and having sort of a decentralized credit score on the blockchain so we can get towards these things. And even to touch on your first point, a decentralized ID is great for growing a community. It allows people to be easily identified while still keeping data protection and ensuring that it's just a great way for the community to participate, because not everybody wants to put out their identity to the whole world. So being able to do it in a decentralized manner and be recognized for it is extremely notable in my opinion.
100%, I agree with that. And I think two things that I want to take away from that. One of them is the fact that, as DeFi and just crypto in general continues to grow and scale, I think these technologies that will help mature that space, bring some of these TradFi mechanisms into DeFi, but doing so in a decentralized way is very important. And really, that's the challenge, right? Is how do we do it where we're not necessarily repeating some of the problems? Because credit in the real world, it's such an obscure mechanism. You don't know how that's composed. You don't know how you can make changes to it, not easily at least. When you're talking about blockchain and decentralization, you're talking about being able to do things transparently so that anyone can see how they can make changes that benefits them in the long term. The other thing that you're talking about, communities, one of the conversations that I've recently had is I've been jumping on these Twitter spaces, and these NFT whales, who are advising these NFT platforms. One of the challenges that they're seeing is that, and this is a term that I just recently learned, scalpers. So these people that go in and just take up this huge number of NFTs during the minting session and then just do double, triple, quadruple the price through whatever mechanisms that they do, then leaving out that community of people that actually cared about the project. So, then what they're looking for is, how do we find a way to identify these individuals and kind of lock out these scalpers that really are in it just for the money, but not really to see the technology grow, to see this community grow as well. And so one last thing that I'd like to say based on what you said is, in terms of identity, I think it's important to recognize that identity doesn't mean show your face. Identity doesn't mean say that you're Humpty Calderon, right? Yeah. Identity really is being able to trustlessly acknowledge or recognize the identity of that particular wallet or digital identity, right? But it's up to you really how much of yourself you bring onto that identity. You could potentially use social verification as a method. So if you have a Twitter account that you've been using for 5 years, that's proof of work, right? You've put in the work to show that that is who you are. If you, for some reason, need to verify using KYC by attaching to that decentralized identity a government-issued credential like a passport, well, then that makes that decentralized identity that much more powerful. But again, that's your choice. You still have agency.
Yeah, and I think that's the true power behind it. All those use cases without really having to put yourself at risk, give out data that you don't necessarily want to give out. And to shift gears a little bit and start to wrap things up, I downloaded the app and I just had like a couple questions from like a beginner first look standpoint. The first of which being, when you download an app, is this automatically register you for an Ont ID, or is this something where once you set up a wallet, you have to go in and do that as well?
So yeah, downloading the app just downloads the app. It doesn't do anything. It's just, an empty app. By creating your wallet, you're also creating your decentralized identity. And in fact, as soon as you do, you will see that there's a prefix to your wallet, that it's like Ont ID : and then your wallet address.
Gotcha. Perfect. And then the other thing, just on the topic of seed phrases, and then we'll get into some DApp integration. But on the topic of seed phrases, this is something we were discussing with SafePal, and it's just incredibly important to be storing these in a safe place. And the average user, one of the first things they go to do is, one, people don't even write them down, or two, people tend to screenshot them and keep them in a place where they can be easily accessed by malicious people. On the app, something I noticed is there were disclaimers and such, but is there any sort of extra mechanisms you guys are thinking of incorporating potentially just to stress how important seed phrases are?
So I guess I'll say a few things to that, and I will agree with you in terms of the importance of securing your seed phrases. In fact, when I first started in crypto, I was giving out my private key because I didn't know that there was a difference between a public key and a private key. And I was like, oh, send me funds here. There's my wallet or my private key instead of my wallet address, right? So there's certainly an educational barrier, and as we're looking to kind of expand and the adoption of cryptocurrencies into to people that may not be at all familiar with it, it's important to provide them with the right tools and educate them so that they understand that. So in terms of when you first create your wallet, there is a process where it asks you to back up that seed phrase. Yes. Beyond that, there is a huge community behind Ontology that supports that educational process. So besides also having documentation, tutorials, walkthroughs on the Onto documents itself, there's also a community that is very active and constantly answering questions. I've seen the same questions being asked over and over, and the community never tires of it, because we understand that there are people that are coming in to the ecosystem that are brand new. They don't understand how things are. And so it's a tiered education mechanism, right? It's at the app level, at the documentation level, and at the community level. And so those processes are in place to support that.
Yeah, and I think that's an amazing question, because an amazing answer, because you can throw on a ton more disclaimers on the app, but people are still not going to listen. And it sounds like Ontology sort of has these layers. Like, look, we're telling you the first time here, you're following our community, we're still telling you. And even before all of that, if people are diving into some of the educational content before they even download the app, it's in there as well. So I think that's just a massive stressor, because I've personally lost funds from not keeping a seed phrase, and it was just something silly. Like I was using an app. Yeah, I was using an app, a wallet, to just transfer funds cross-chain. And it was something as simple as, I'll probably never use this wallet again. Turns out the wallet bugged while I was using it. And I was like, oh, I'm going to delete the wallet, so hopefully this bug goes away. Yeah, that was a bad idea. So it's such a simple thing that I know a ton of like beginner crypto investors overlook. And it's even just like screenshotting it is not enough. Just get out a pen and pencil, write it down on something, keep it in a safe place. Don't even keep one, keep two, just in case your paper gets wet or whatever. It's just such an easy, simple thing. And it's just like, it's almost a meme around the crypto community. Like, just do it. You're going to have all these funds and you can't write down 12 words. So I just think it's incredibly important to stress.
Well, I think it's actually a bit funny that in such a digital native space that is crypto, that we are dependent on like these analog mechanisms, right? Write it down in order to protect your crypto. But really, I think one of the major barriers or hurdles for someone to understand when they're coming into the space is accountability. We're used to banks and these institutions controlling everything in terms of our finances, credit card companies, credit score companies, these banks, these what's it called, the trading, all these institutions are there. They can support you, but the reason why is because they have everything on the back end. You have nothing. You have ones and zeros that don't really mean anything. With crypto, those ones and zeros are meaningful because that is the value that you've created. So you need to be accountable for the protection, the security of that.
Yeah, and I don't think it can really be better said. I don't have too much here. This was an extremely useful presentation and discussion. I think a lot of users definitely had something to take away from security and the future use of Ont ID. I think that's something extremely exciting that distinguishes Ontology Wallet, and it's looking to make a change for the better in crypto and bring services that are more like traditional TradeFi services in a more efficient and decentralized manner. I'm not sure if you have anything else you want to touch on, Humpty, but other than that, I think we're all set.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say that part of that education, I've, along with several members of the team, have taken it upon ourselves to go out and do the work. And so we host regular conversations on a weekly basis, and we cover the gamut of platforms. We're on Clubhouse, we're on Twitter Spaces, we're on Discord, we're on Telegram. So find us on any of those platforms. We host regular conversation with builders. We talk about Web3, what they're building, and also the potential integration of decentralized identity across all of these applications. So, if you're interested in learning more about it, it's a hugely complex topic. Join us on our social channels. Join us on Telegram, on Discord. We're always happy to help. But certainly participate in these conversations because you'd be privy to some discussions with some of the builders that are really revolutionizing this space.
Definitely. I appreciate that shout out, and that's definitely a useful resource. All right, Humpty, I really appreciate you making it out, closing up this security summit, and I'm sure we'll speak soon in the future.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel because we're just getting started with events of this nature. We're going to be holding monthly summits like this, covering all sorts of projects in the future. We also do one-on-one project discussions. We've had some notable projects such as Venus, Baby Doge, Crypto Blades, and those videos are all available on the YouTube. So be sure to subscribe for that kind of content because there'll be a ton more coming. And again, thank you everybody for joining the Security Summit. Be sure to stay safe out there.